Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Connie Driscoll, I live on Atlantic Street. I have a little bit of a unique perspective here because I've been on the park board since 2002. I've been on the Community Preservation Committee since its inception in 2007. One of the things I did want to point out is that there are many times that proposals come before the CPC exactly for what this bill is going to do for us, our city, to repair some of the parks. We can't do it all. We're getting declining funds in the Community Preservation Committee, but also there is certain legislation that does not allow us, for example, regarding officials. That's not allowed. So there are different aspects that have to be considered. I think anytime we can bond using community preservation money or, in this case, hotel motel tax, I'm all in favor. I hope you watch.
Thank you, Connie.
Hey, all, my name is Vaughn Driscoll. I live on 8 Shedden Street. I'm a lifelong resident. My family's been here since the early 1800s. I'm the head coach and founder of the Quincy Militia Semi-Pro football team. I'm here in support of the mayor's proposal for beautification and upkeep of the parks and the fields. It's a main source for the youth and also the adult programs. The fields need the funding, and I'm also in support of the dog park. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Good evening, councilors. I am Bob Olchak. My wife and I live on Estabrook Road and have done so for the last 45 years. During this time, we've been fortunate to have been guardians of several wonderful dogs and cats as our children were growing up, and currently own a lovable 3-year-old golden retriever, Max. I support Mayor Coates' proposal to fund and build a new Quincy no-kill animal shelter and dog park on 22 acres of available land. I want to encourage a timely approval by the council, as well as setting a high priority on an expedited construction timetable. The costs associated with building a new Quincy animal shelter is relatively small in comparison to many of the other capital proposals. The need for a new state-of-the-art no-kill animal shelter is well overdue, as well as the humane decision to make. The current shelter is in deplorable condition, with current space for animals not meeting national standards. Our volunteers have done a wonderful job under these conditions, and through their efforts have facilitated the adoption of 7,500 animals by the residents of Quincy since 1999. The city of Quincy is a first-class city, and we need a first-class shelter. I ask the residents as well as the councilors for their support. I'm going to read, someone else quoted this saying, but I don't know if they gave credit. The moral progress of a nation may state in the city, and its greatness should be judged by the way it treats its animals. That was quoted by Mahatma Gandhi. Thank you very much, councilors. Thank you.
How you doing, everyone? John Northfield, 62 Brumwell Road. I just want to say that, $27 million, it has to be divided up a lot better. You can't just have a bill and say, $27 million to fix every single park in the city. As a taxpayer, we need to see what is being spent on a more itemized basis. I mean, you should be coming here for a much smaller ask. This is a huge ask. I'm getting ready to hear the ask for the parking lot and for the sewer work that needs to be held up in Quincy Center. I mean, I'm kind of floored at how much money they're asking us for. I'm also a little floored with how many people are here in support of this. When people wonder why their taxes are going up, it's because of bonding like this. We have, I believe, $77 million worth of active bonds, which basically are bonds that we're only paying interest only. We refinance them by making them into long-term bonds. So basically, we're adding like $50 million worth of bonds every single year. So what we're doing now, we're going to refinance those $77 million worth of bonds into some more long-term bonds. And we just did a $59 million bond for the Sterling Middle School. The lights, they're going to come back with, there's just so many bonds. I mean, I don't really understand. We really have to slow down. You're supposed to protect us, and we have to go much, much slower. I've never seen anything come in so quickly where this just came in, and there was no notification. I only see one sheet that has been given to the public that talks about how they're going to spend the $27 million. Is there more that's available that the public can look at? Does anybody know? Like, people are talking about various different projects, but is there anything other than one sheet of paper that's available to the public? Anyone have an answer to that?
It was on display last Monday night.
Just one piece of paper?
No, a whole presentation for the entire 27.
For the presentation,
Yeah. We're on the clock.
okay, but I mean, the bottom line is that we're spending money that we don't have. The streets and the sidewalks, just driving through Council Kane, Ward 3, they need some help. We need to be spending the money on the streets and the sidewalks everywhere in the city, not just in the developers. They should be paying for the dog parks, okay? Not the people of Quincy.
20 seconds.
Well, I would just like to end this in saying, like, please do not approve this tonight, okay? Please do not approve this tonight. And I would want you to know that I am strongly in opposition of this, and I would please wish that it would be noted in the minutes that John Rutherford of 62 Grenmore Road is in opposition of spending $27 million without proper notification to the taxpayers of Quincy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. This is not money that could be used for sidewalks and streets.
So the hotel motel tax, as it's written right now, has several buckets that can be spent. Open space / parks and recreation, historical preservation, and seawall reconstruction. So to answer your question, Madam Moderator, if I missed anything, I think that's what I extracted from the original ordinance. But we're limited in terms of what we can actually spend this money.
Right, so I just want to be clear, because that's not, I mean, it's not accurate that this money could go for something. It has a very specific purpose from the hotel motel tax. So we can only spend it on specific things, as you just mentioned. So the reality is, while sidewalks and streets are important, this money can't be spent on those repairs anyway. But I wonder if it's possible to hear from the mayor's representative regarding some of the issues
He's
folks have
actually
raised.
going to come back and get the public comment there.
Okay,
Yep. Thank you, Madam.
well, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Jack Lee, I live at 94 over here from San Luis Hilton. I just want to speak on behalf of the other show. I think that besides all the stuff that these people pointed out, I'm not really an animal advocate per se, but I'm a dog owner, and I work quite a bit, and I think looking at the first class animal shelter, I think you guys probably see the aspect of where it could become, to a large extent, self-funding, and I think you guys might be overlooking the fact that the shelter is so dated that they have to do fundraising off-site, which is very unfortunate. I think that a first-class city, and I'm a 15-year resident, and I come from other cities before I moved down to Quincy. I think that some of the other places where I used to live did a lot of fundraising events on-site, first-class shelters and things like that, and they were able to raise a great deal of money. And the names of the fields were able to go to some of the corporate people that do business in the city here, okay? And we're able to generate a lot of revenue stream for places like the shelter. And you'd be surprised how giving people can be if you just ask them for some help. And I think that you have a lot of large sponsors here, like Stop and Shop, which is basically A-Hold, and you have large corporate dealers like Danny Quirk. You have Blue Cross Blue Shield that has a big corporate office here, and I can go on and on about some of the resources that could be tapped here to potentially help generate some profits for a worthy cause like this, okay? And I just think that if you have a first-class place down there, you might be surprised what you could potentially do to help not only the tremendous volunteers you have, but obviously the animals that are in need. So I just thought you guys might want to take a look at maybe that aspect of it. If you guys that are councils here, you should get on and check that shelter. The people down there are tremendous, and they deserve a lot better than what they get in the last 30 years of life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Crowe, 15 Morning Road. I'm the current treasurer of the Ward 2 Civic Association, and I think it's very important that the city keeps its promise to build a playground, all-inclusive. These children can't come to the meeting and talk for themselves, so I feel we need to do it. It should be a top priority, and I hope the city moves forward with the commitment that they made to us last year.
Thank you. just recognize fully transition. That,
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. On the Fort River Field radon project, let me just say that the man fully understands how important that project has been to the council, how hard he's fought for it over the last several years, how hard the community has worked on it over the last several years. And it is our intention, and there's been some offline discussions, and it's the mayor's intention, to fully complete that project with the playground. And the playground is going to be one of, if not the next step that gets done in that project. The issue with the funding as it stands right now is a couple of moving parts, a few moving parts, excuse me. And sometimes in government, things get a little messy. We had an allocation in the state budget. That allocation was cut. That left us in a bit of a bind to continue to move forward. This year, as it stands right now, we have a $250,000 appropriation request, or a recommendation request in front of the Community Preservation Committee for money from that funding to pick up what the state has cut. Subsequent to that, in the bond bill, there's another $300,000 to complete the full project. So all in, we're probably talking in the range of $800,000. It is part of the plan. It will be part of the plan. We're moving forward. We have some ways we can continue to move forward in the meantime, while things get settled and everything gets straightened away. But under no circumstances, and I apologize if the impression was left that somehow the city was abandoning that project, then I won't apologize. That was never anyone's intention. It's not what's going to happen. As most of you know, when the mayor starts a project on behalf of the community, and when the ward councilor fights so strongly for it, he believes in it, we're not just going to pick up and walk away. It's going to get done. It may take a little bit longer than everyone had hoped, but there's just no way that that project's not going to get done with that playground and with all the other amenities that are included in that facility.
appreciate the sentiment. We'll go to Mrs. Amdow, but we talk about semantics a lot. So everyone knew sort of the sequence, the funding, whatever you refer to it as being cut. We knew that. But what we were told was it would be part of this park bill. And when I see and it's fine, but I just, hear me out now. We learn about this in a public meeting for the first time. Completely surprised, okay? Completely surprised. To me, I just don't think that's the right way to go about doing business, but that's my style preference. So then, we learn about it in a bond bill, which is appropriation. We'll talk through it at some point this evening, maybe not. For Fort River Field, parking, fencing, paving, pickleball courts. Nothing but all-inclusive playground. So we're just going off of what we were given to read. And the people at Quincy Point, they see it put out there in the media that we're investing in parks, and they say exactly what it is, like what happened here. So we totally understand what happened, the evolution of this story. But we're really, really hoping that the communication can improve and that the end result is desired and done sooner than later. Thank you.
Bill Stanton, Chairman Kroll, out of respect to your time limit, I just want you to see I've done my best to slash my comments down. But if I get a little lost along the way.
Time's up, Bill.
Again, time limits the ability to address all the problems with the proposed $27 million ask. For example, the proposal includes spending $14.7 million on the Hancock grade, over half of what's requested. Not duly addressed, however, is that over $4 million has already been spent on the necessary underground utility work given the nature of what's proposed. Most likely another $1 million more in planning, close to $1 million in underground cistern, and whatever they've spent on the date, in my favor, the mayor unilaterally as well as quietly spent at least $500,000 on heroic new statues that were made by a Soviet immigrant now living in Italy. So much for buying American. That and a total of $22 million to build an going to have to park. I got to wonder, are the new and gray bricks old bricks? Then there are problems with financing it. Mayor Long promised that it would be paid for with state IQ grant. This isn't happening because the development of Quincy Center is both behind schedule as well as looking to be, if that is, if it actually happens, having neither as much development or the sort of mix of development that the state requires to provide IQ funding. This in turn begets a related question. What does this say about what may or may not be viability for the long promising Quincy Center? Even so, the mayor is bound and determined to not be denied his plans to build the green no matter what. To this end, he comes to this body with a plan to cap the hotel motel revenue and not so burden local taxpayers. Well, technically true, is this best use of $15 million? The spending as well as half of what it's asking to do with parks and commit paying for over the next generation? That, and what about the annual expenses that are going to be incurred to get this thing to go? Where are those data though? Finally, is the plan to rely on 10 years of interest only with financing, followed by 30 years of municipal bond, principal and financing? If so, such is a risky and further deficiency of financing scheme. I thought I could get on a wire grab, but couldn't quite get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else wishing to speak here this evening? Good evening.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but after the hostileness over here. My name is Mary Modleski. I live in Terry. I've been a resident of Quincy for 20 years. I've been affiliated with Quincy Animal Shelter since 2000. I am indeed in favor of the dog park, also a dog odor for years, several years. We need a dog park in the area where the dogs can go and run and play and exhaust each other, as well as the owners of dogs going and having a good time and just getting out and socializing. Yes, the shelter does need a new shelter. It's way outdated. The incredible volunteers that we have, and we've had through the years, give countless hours, hundreds and hundreds of volunteer time each and every month. We've got incredible people. We've got a great support team that's here tonight. And we could not do it without them. And we really do. Please pass it for the shelter and the dog park. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak here this evening? Anyone else wishing here to speak here this evening? All right. Well, that concludes the public comment period. Again, I want to thank everyone for taking time to come and participate in community dialogue, because quite honestly, in my opinion, isn't this what it's all about? So again, thank you so much for attending. We're going to take maybe 5 minutes before we transition into an actual presentation. You're welcome to stay with us. If you don't, we won't take offense either. But, again, thank you so much for attending. I'm going to adjourn the meeting for a quick break.
Hold on 1 second, Court. Dealing with a paying customer. Hold on.
Hey,
Right?
I'm a paying customer.
Yeah, shoot me an email. Set something up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to circle right back.
But anyway, you should see and it's good
Thanks again, everyone, for coming out and participating. The first speaker on the agenda here this evening is Joe Shea Jr., who is going to give a presentation on the Adams Green. So welcome, Joe. Hello, Joseph.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Joseph Shea with Woodard & County. I'm here tonight to provide some additional detail on the Hancock Adams Phase 2 project. This was about 12 or 13 of the slides that were introduced last Monday night. The information I have here tonight is a deeper dive on the information. You also have in your packet some of the actual bid cost information, actual cost information. In the form of charts and spreadsheets. We get down to really fine degree. The Hancock Adams Green, an incredibly brief history. It's a vibrant new park right outside of the building where we currently sit. It's intended to celebrate two of Quincy's finest families. And it's intended to connect the McIntyre Mall, the Church of the Presidents, and the Hancock Cemetery, the City Hall building, and all of the downtown businesses. It really is trying to tie government and history together and create a pedestrian lane between Quincy Center MBTA station and the urban revitalization district. The Hancock Adams Green has been laid out in a stepwise phased fashion. Many of you have been hearing about the Hancock Adams Green since 2010. In February of 2011, a designer was selected for a competitive process, and we were on the way. Phase 1 of the Hancock Adams Green is the City Hall and Old City Hall courtyard, the area that's right outside of these windows to my right or left. And we're here tonight to talk about the Phase 2, the promenade piece shown here in this graphic, which is effectively the piece of the Hancock Adams Green that was formerly Hancock Street. There is a future third phase, which is the open space connection to the MBTA station. It is also out the windows to the right on the corner of the Monroe Building. We have recommended, and the city has agreed, to postpone that portion of the project to make sure that it's in alignment with the eventual MBTA use. As I said, the city has been at this for a long time. There are a number of components that have been funded, completed, or substantially completed, including many of the transportation components on Washington Temple and Hancock Street. A number of utilities have been relocated. The Adams Hancock Green Phase 1 component was completed last spring, all except for the walk of names, using a parks grant that was received in 2015. You can get, from this graphic, you can see some of the components looking at the Church of the President off to the right, and begin to see the motif in the Hancock Adams Green with the granite blocks with some of the landscape. What has also been completed is the design and permitting of Phase 2, which does include the Hancock Cemetery restoration pieces, some private utility relocation work for Verizon and National Grid, and coordination with the Church of the President, who's going to be doing the handicap ramp. We want to make sure that that handicap ramp flows appropriately with the new park. The heart of the components that are in the Parks Bond request are all Phase 2, the promenade. East-west corridor of the park, as I said, is the Hancock Street components. And the mayor went over a number of these elements in his presentation a week ago. It is the pedestrian amenities. It is the creation of a sense of place between the Church of Presidents and City Hall. What you've got in your packet is a detailed showing of the project schedule. For Phase 2, the design has been completed. Bids were received and opened in early March. The current construction schedule is to start this spring, assuming we receive your approval. There are interim milestones for subsurface work to be done by November of 2017, and all of the granite work to be done in April of 2018, with the goal of a June 1st completion date and the Flag Day grand opening. In your package is a very detailed contractor's schedule. It's not meant to be read up here, but it's to show you how all of the individual elements connect on a 58-week construction duration. The contractor who won the bid is West Construction Halifax. West is the contractor that's been completing the North Quincy High School Public Works Improvement Project, Creed Field. Part of what West Construction had shared with us is that they enjoyed working with the city on Creed Fields, and they're looking forward to moving all of their equipment up Hancock to start on this project. They've included some sub-consultants that we know very well. MON Landscaping has done quite a bit of work in the downtown. H. Marchand for Quincy is doing the fountains. And Woodard and Curran is playing a program manager role. And the landscape architect has continued to be Alverson Design Partnership. And actually, Rich Houghton, a Ward 3 resident, is here tonight. Rich has done a tremendous job with all the details on the landscape architect component of this project. The Parks Bond request was $15.7 million for the promenade phase. In your packet are contract bids that break down these numbers into very specific elements, such as the square footage of granite pavers, square footage of brick pavers, the individual landscaping. In roll-up, the numbers are generally $12.8 million, which was the construction bid for West. It was their base bid. There was some additive alternates for the Hancock Cemetery and some utility work. $2.4 million engineering and oversight contract to oversee their work and commission their work. And we're carrying $500,000 of construction contingency. Because even with all of the work that's been done out in Hancock Street, with the age of the city, with the age of its utilities, we still do find things from time to time on projects. We want to make sure we've got contingency, an appropriate contingency in the budget for this project. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions that you might have about the packet, the project, or Hancock Avenue.
Chair recognizes Council Palmucci.
Thank you. Good evening, Joe. This funding would be coming from which pot? This is the,
This would be the parks improvement on the $27 million parks improvement bond.
which is
Funded
coming,
by hotel and motel.
hotel, motel, okay. So I have some questions about some stuff. You're the body in front of me, so you're the body I'm going to ask questions to. Olay is necessary, and I'll find it out. But so you had said that there was a slide in here that talked about the costs. There wasn't a very detailed breakdown for the $15.7 million. You don't have page numbers on here, but on my page, there's a picture of this couple walking hand in hand. She's wearing like a black dress. This current phase 2 promenade, in quotes, as if it's a fictional promenade. The third, fourth, and fifth items on there is 2 water features, new and repositioned statues, public art, and interpretive elements. So that's kind of the what I would consider art, right? Statues, they're art. Water features, it's art, skate, and then obviously art is art. I'm so well versed in art because I'm married to an artist, Joe. That's where I get this vocabulary from.
Not too well.
Right. So what's the cost for those pieces?
The water features, you have to forgive me, I'm going to go to the table that's in your packet.
Okay.
There are about 40 different individual pay items. The water features, the fountains, pipe work associated with fountains, total just under $2 million. The public art and interpretive elements, in this bid is $175,000. The repositioned statues, it's actually not individually broken out as a pay item number. I'm sorry, it's nested in a different item.
So is that just the repositioned, or is that also the new statues?
That is the repositioning of the 2 existing statues up there today.
And then there's some new statues, right?
Correct. There are 2 new statues. They've already been paid for, commissioned, and not part of this appropriation request.
How much were those?
Those were, I'm saying the magnitude of $500,000. We'll get you that number as well.
Each or combined?
I know combined.
Okay. And that money that paid for that was from
I'm going to Olay and defer.
state money? He's whispering to you state money. Like he wants you to say state money. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that was a state grant.
Yeah, state money, that's what he's doing. Okay. But so the $2 million for the water features and the $175,000 for public art, that's coming out of this bond request, right? Okay. Now let me ask you a question that perhaps you may not be able to answer. What are the hard construction costs of the projects that have been permitted under the URDP thus far? So specifically, east of Chestnut, west of Chestnut, the Galvco project, the proposed LBC project, and the permitted O'Connell project.
I do not have that number.
Perhaps through you to the mayor's representative.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't have that, we can certainly get that for you, Council.
Okay. I had asked Bill Geary for it. He told me that I should ask Jay Duca to review the permits to see what the hard costs were associated with that. But if you could send you an email on my drive over here, if you could facilitate that to figure it out. And the reason I'm asking is because all of these projects have had the 10%, in the URDP, calls for if you build something under the URDP, you have to pay 10% of your hard construction costs into an art fund to be used on things like water features, new repositioned statues, public art, and interpretive elements. There hasn't been a single actual payment into an art fund that I'm aware of to date that would pay for these things from private money. That 10% of the hard construction cost is paid for by the developer. So they would, in addition to the development costs, they have to look at their hard construction costs. Hard costs are the cost of actually building it, not the permitting and things like that, but the actual building of the development. And they would have to pay 10% of whatever that number is, say it's $40 million, they would have to pay $4 million into this art fund that could then be used by the city to put public art throughout the downtown area. This is a perfect example, to me, as to why there is a need. I mean, we want to have a vibrant downtown that incorporates these things that are spelled out in this plan. I'm supportive of there being features such as this and public art, statues and whatnot. And that's what you expect in from a municipality, from a government function, to put up and create very vibrant public spaces. However, from the very beginning of the downtown development, we were assured that there would be private developer buy-in to these ideals that we put out, to this policy. The URDP, again, is our main, the URDP being the redevelopment plan for downtown Quincy. That is, in of itself, our policy document for how we want to see the downtown developed. So the fact that we call out for 10% to be put in of hard construction costs in that document, in that policy document, to build up a fund to pay for things like this, made sense to me when I voted for it. I think I voted for the URDP 4 or 5 times now in its various revisions and iterations. And every time it's included, no one's sought to strip out that 10% for the art fund. Yet, to date, we don't have a single, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Walker, but we don't have a single cent, not a single cent in the art fund, which could help offset this, $2.7 million that we're being asked to spend of funds from the municipal pot here, not from the developers paying into it. And so that, I would like that information before I vote on this particular piece of it. I also think before I vote on this particular piece of it, and again, I think it's a great plan, it's a great vision. I think it's fitting for the greatness of our city to have such a prominent and well-established public space that ties in our downtown, our civic, our places of civic pride. I think that all makes sense. It's one of the things, in my humble opinion, that I think Mayor Koch does above and beyond, which is his big vision for how things can and should look to make our city great. So I'm not saying I'm against how it looks or what's being proposed here, but I have deep concerns that all along we've been telling folks, all along in our policy documents that we have out there that are subject to public hearings, all along in the material that we've taken from the community, incorporated into policy, through public hearings, public meetings, says that developers will pay 10% of their hard costs into an art fund, and utilizing that art fund, developers' money will pay for things like this. That's not what's being presented right now. And I have a concern about that. So I want to get some additional information about that before I vote on it. I don't know whatever the rest of the body wants to do. If it comes up for a vote, I'll probably abstain until that point. But I want to know that information as to what those hard costs, what has been said to be waived. We said, no, we're not going to make you pay that into the art fund. We're going to call this art. We're going to call that art. This is actually art. This is what it was meant to pay for with developers' money. This is the public benefit for the development in the downtown. It's right here, and we're paying for it, not the developer. So the deal to me seems to be coming up a little bit short in terms of the downtown development. I'd like to learn more about what it is that's been waived in terms of funds and why, from a policy perspective, we're using municipal funds to pay for this. And I get the plot that it's coming from the hotel motel tax fund, and that's a less egregious place, obviously, than a straight bond that the taxpayers pay back or coming out straight out of the municipal budget. But it's still monies that could be used for other things throughout the city. And it's being directed, the hotel motel tax money is being directed, again, like a lot of our resources to downtown. I have folks who call me and express concern about the sidewalks near their home or the street condition near their home, and they say, I drive downtown, they have beautiful new sidewalks downtown. You know, the streets in and around downtown, they look pretty good for those new developments. I've lived in Quincy for 40, 50, 60 years, paying my taxes. Where's the benefit to me in the residential neighborhoods? And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to try and inform people that with a vibrant downtown, we all benefit. Downtown's the economic engine that drives the city forward, so we need a vibrant downtown. But it gets a little bit tenuous when we're taking money out of places that could be, out of the pot of money, this hotel motel tax, that could be spent on parks in each of the neighborhoods. It could be spent, and is proposing to be, with this particular nearly $3 million, could be spent elsewhere throughout the city, not directed right to the downtown. Developers could be paying for that, and it doesn't look like they are in this particular plan. So I'll wait. I have no more questions about this. Thank you, Joe. I'll wait for that additional information about the hard construction costs, and I'll just finally leave it at this. In terms of both of these measures, or just this measure, I think it should be broken out, it should be itemized. I won't vote yea or nay on one appropriation for this amount. I think it would be, it doesn't make sense to me. $27 million, I'm not going to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on $27 million. I think that this should be amended. I don't know if the council can do it itself. It should be amended by either us or by the administration to be itemized, and we can take up or down votes on each and every aspect of it. Each and every aspect of where that $27 million is going to go in the park improvement plan. I think there's a lot of good things in there. A lot of good things that should be fast-tracked. Let's get out, let's start making these improvements, let's start working on it right away. There's a lot in there that I can get behind and vote on today. I can't vote on $27 million as a blanket number for everything in there. I think there's some other pieces of it that are going to take more deliberation. And I'm just speaking for myself here, but there's other pieces of that $27 million that'll take more deliberation. I'll have to think a little bit harder on as we weigh other budget needs. Like I said, there's a lot in there and there's quite a few things in there that I think we can fast track and get out of committee and refer to the council and pass to start work this spring. But I'm certainly not going to do it as a yes or no vote on one item for $27 million without it being itemized. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. And, I agree with your sentiment on many levels. If nothing else, right, kind of working backwards, I think individual orders helps keep everything organized, right? Does that, A. B, it creates some definition around exactly what we're talking about, and to some extent gives this body control in terms of how the money is expended versus a broad-based $27 million to where. So completely agree with it. Have you had any conversations with?
I haven't been able to connect with the solicitor as to whether or not it's appropriate for the council to amend it, but as I think more about it, the best we could do, arguably, would be, its spending has to be initiated by the mayor. So the mayor's initiated the spending of $27 million. I think we would be within our right to break it out and itemize it per project. However, that would still be in 2017-050.
It's a subset.
Right, it'd be in a subset. We would have to take that one ordinance and go through it by A, B, C, D, G, whatever the rest of the alphabet is. But we'd have to go through it in order. I think it would be cleaner if they were, and I don't know how many projects in there. Say there's 12 projects in there specifically in the $27 million I think it would be cleaner if there were 12 orders. That way we wouldn't have to, if the council didn't support. So what I'm saying, when this thing's ready to be fast-tracked, we can vote in favor of one, but it's still attached to others that maybe wouldn't be fast-tracked.
But here's the thing, the final authorization, you're talking about 27 million, whether it's 27 million in totality or 27 million less, fill in the blank, equals your final bonding amount. So, but again, getting back to basics, I think that each line item helps us to perceive what exactly we're speaking about.
At the very least, yeah, line item within one ordinance.
Right. So, point well taken. Mr. Walker, is that something that you kind of work through mechanically? Sure. Okay, so we'll continue with the presentations tonight, just because we have, the subject matter folks here. But we'll hold the pen until we already have another finance committee meeting scheduled. So, is 10-day turnaround time? I'm sure.
Won't be a problem.
Okay, and I know that you had something that you just kind of wanted.
Just, if I could, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Just a quick clarification, and I don't mean this to be argumentative at all. We'll provide all the information if the council is requested, but I do believe the public art fund and the UIDP is 1% of construction costs, not 10%. So just to keep that in mind.
Okay, so on a $40 million project, it would be $400,000. 1%. Okay, sorry that I got that wrong. If I may, just follow. Mr. Walker, how much is currently in that fund now for the 1% of the 2 projects that have been completed?
I do not know, Council.
Fair to say it's zero, right?
I do not know.
Fair to say it's zero, right?
I do not know.
Through you, the auditor, could you perhaps tell us how much is in the art fund at 1% of our construction costs?
Just went down. I look at my calculator.
It's tough.
Road determined.
Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor King.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we went through this last year. I mean, we were presented with a capital improvement plan, and when it didn't seem to be working out to the administration's liking, we started going down line by line and breaking it out, and that's how some of these things got through. With all due respect, that's how it went last year.
I'm sorry, Council. Actually, last year, everything was originally in separate orders last year. We're doing it differently this year.
Back into this whole, okay. Well, regardless though, it would, still do us all a favor if we had a comprehensive capital improvement plan. Regardless of whichever bucket it's implied or otherwise it's coming from, whether it's hotel, motel, general fund, if it's doing bonds from here to that, the other place, put it in one package. And the one thing that this still lacks is prioritization. So you're having us make decisions on whether a animal shelter is just as important as a public safety headquarters, just as important as some public dock in Ward 1. But those aren't the decisions that we should be making. And this is just an omnibus bill. This is $27 million you're asking us to make today. $25 million for capital improvement plan. We just did 4 million LEDs, which I don't know why that wasn't in the capital improvement plan. 60 million will come down the line for parking garage soon enough. Budget season's coming along soon enough. We just came off a tax increase, so optically it's a little difficult for a lot of people to digest. So if this were, in individual orders, if this were a little bit easier digestible, then I probably would be able to make a decision like my colleague Councilor Palucci, but $27 million omnibus is very difficult. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Again, Council, just to kind of level set the conversation based on the sentiment coming out of this body here this evening. We'll proceed with presentations. There'll be no votes up or down, but again, completely agree with you. Keeps us organized, keeps us on track, and keeps us all singing from the same hymn, whether it's for or against. So completely agree.